Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Star Trek Online, third year Star Trek Online anniversary, and this is the last video that we will be doing for the third year anniversary. We have now come to the end. As of this recording, there are literally 2 days left until the anniversary event is over. 2 days. So we are literally at the end of this event. It lasted an entire 2 weeks, which is the longest so far for any Star Trek Online anniversary event. And we have done several things. In this video, I'm pretty much just going to summarize what you were able to do in this season, in this anniversary, third year, and how that compared to the first and the second year. So let's step out of Club 47 for a moment, and let's talk about what first was available in the first year anniversary of Star Trek Online. So, in the first year anniversary of Star Trek Online, they introduced, basically, in the first year of the first anniversary, Earth Space Dock got a big revamp. And it was changed, the interior was changed, exterior was changed, and one of the new things that Earth Space Dock had in the first year anniversary was this fountain. And so in the first year anniversary, they made this fountain part of the activities that you had to do. So basically, in the first year anniversary, you would talk to Q, and Q was also in Club 47. You would talk to Q, and you would have to do a couple of things. You would have to answer some questions. It was a little mini game, basically, you did with Q, where you answered some questions that he had for you, just some random Star Trek questions. If you answered those questions wrong, he would morph you into a animal or something odd. That was the introduction of the morphing. That's when the morphing came about. If you answered correctly, then basically you would complete the challenge and get the first year party popper. It was that simple. It was not hard to get at all. Then there was a secondary thing to do, and that was to go from Q to the fountain, and it was literally a little mission called Play in the Fountain, and there was a mini Q up here at the top, and you would literally go into the fountain, and it would do an odd animation where you were like playing in the water in the fountain, and that would get you loot. Playing in the fountain would get you loot, and some of it was epic loot if you were lucky. And that was all that was in the first year anniversary. It was just all about answering those questions correctly to get the party popper, and then playing in the fountain. That's it. That was the first year. They had no really big missions or no new ships or nothing like that. It was very minor compared to what they did for the third year. Okay, so that was the first year anniversary. But the big thing about that was that you had the triple gun, and we'll go ahead and put that on. First year anniversary gun here. We'll just look at that again. It's called the explosive party popper, and this is what it would do. It would do that, and it would do that, basically. And that was the big thing, is that people were popping tribbles everywhere, and nobody complained about that at the time. Everyone loved the tribbles. And we'll talk about why I just said that in a moment here. Now, the second year anniversary got a little more complex. By the way, I don't have video of the first year anniversary because I wasn't recording videos at the time. But if you will go to YouTube and search Star Trek Online first year anniversary, there are people that did put up some videos for the first year anniversary, so you can see what that was like. Now, for the second year anniversary, I was recording, so I fully covered that. Now, what was special about the second year anniversary is that it introduced 2 new mechanics into an anniversary celebration. The first one is getting a brand new ship. It was very big during the second year anniversary because the Enterprise F, that was when they were going to release the Enterprise F that everybody was looking forward to. And up to that point, they had released the design that they had settled on and designing the Enterprise F, but no one really got an idea for what it would look like in game or how it would perform until the second year anniversary of Star Trek Online, and then that ship was released with the anniversary. And how they released it was also unique. They had a little mini mission where you would go to Mars and you would have to take the ship out on its, like, you know, first voyage or whatever, and scan a couple of satellites, and after that, oh yeah, it was like fight some Klingons or something like that, and then you got the ship. The ship was in your inventory, basically. However, you could not use it until you were level 50. It was a level 50 only ship, but it was free. It was a free Odyssey. So that was the way to get the Odyssey for free. So that was new. Also, they introduced newly the little Q mini game at Starfleet Academy, where you would go down to Starfleet Academy and you would have to interact with little mini Qs and do a task like 5 times or something, and then after you complete that, that gets you the second year party popper. And put that on. And it was just a little more fiery. I mean, it wasn't the tribbles so far. It did balloon bubbles, so that was cool. Oh, it did some fire. It did fireworks. So I guess they did evolve it. None of these effects, again, really aggravated people. Everyone liked all that. Same with the triple gun. And so that brings us to the third year anniversary. They've upped the ante. People will say, well, is that all there was, you know, that Temporal Ambassador mission? Well, that Temporal Ambassador mission for year 3 is the best job they've ever done for an anniversary of Star Trek Online. When you compare it to the last 2 anniversaries, it's a step up. It's an evolution from the second year, most definitely. Because Temporal Ambassador, while again it was a mode to get a new starship, it was a much longer mission, and it was an actual mission compared to the Odyssey in year 2. That was so short, and it was just the primary goal of that was just to get the ship, and there was no storyline behind it. But with Temporal Ambassador in year 3, that had an intricate storyline, and not only did it have an intricate storyline, it had new voice actors like Denise Crosby coming in and doing voice acting for that mission. So it was unique in the fact that they evolved a storyline mission specifically for the anniversary, a whole mission you could play that actually had a really good story to it, and it was a lot of fun, and it felt like a Star Trek Online episode, or a Star Trek episode, like you were playing exactly what you would see on TV. So it was pretty unique in that fact. I think they really stepped up the whole thing there with the story. In addition, you also get the Ambassador class starship, and they released it in 2 tiers, tier 5 and tier 3. So again, that's a little unique because you got 2 different tiered ships that they have released. And then they really didn't expand on the Q Daily. They kind of just made it a new kind of Q Daily where you would go down and look at presents and have to watch where the little mini Q runs. It's basically the same elements that you had in year 2, just a different kind of mini game. But that one wasn't evolved too much, but it was the same principle. You go and you run that, and then you get your party popper. So that's the evolution from year 1, 2, and 3. In year 1, you just answered a couple of questions with Q and you got your party popper, and then you played in a fountain and you got some loot. That was it. In year 2, you got to do a little mini mission where you take the new Odyssey out, and then at the end you acquire the Odyssey and you get a free starship. And you get to go down to Starfleet Academy and do a mini game with Q's mini-me's, and at the end, that's how you get the party popper, so expanding that. And then in year 3, they introduce an entire storyline mission with new voice acting, new game mechanics, and other new things to get the Ambassador class starship in both Tier 3 and Tier 5. And on the Klingon side, you have a Klingon equivalent ship as well, so at least Klingons do get a new ship. And with that, they also had the yesterday's Enterprise, quote, uniform. Not, I would say, what should be, it shouldn't be called a uniform in my opinion. It was just a chest gear and a belt. I don't think it should be called a uniform because it's not the entire uniform. But anyway, they did that, and then on KDF, all they did was a copy and paste of yesterday's Enterprise, quote, uniform on KDF, and that was a bit of a downer because that one really doesn't match on the KDF side. I wish they had done a unique KDF kind of chest piece and belt, but they did not. So anyway, but at least the KDF did get a new ship that matches the same abilities as the Ambassador, so they have that too now. And that's basically year 3. You do all those things. You could also have done Q's daily every day and get the special party box, which also had loot in it. I actually never ended up doing that, so I don't know what kind of loot it had in it, but I never really had the time to go back and replay it, unfortunately. But it probably was not epic loot. It was probably just random loot, maybe uncommon materials or whatever. So that is year 3 Star Trek Online Celebration, and every year they have amped it up, and so that makes me look forward to year 4 Star Trek Online Anniversary. If this game is still around in the 4th year, I hope they amp it up even more. I would say I would like to see a change from the Q Daily. They can still do a Q Daily, but change it up now. You've done Starfleet Academy twice, where you go down and work with the little mini Qs twice. I would say change that up. Do something different for that. And then I would also say you've now set the bar pretty high for having a complete story and a complete mission to play for the anniversary. So you absolutely must have at least that for year 4. And I would say if you can, amp it up even more. Maybe a mini featured episode series. Instead of the normal 5 episodes or missions that you get in a featured episode series, how about have 3 missions that you play and call it a mini featured episode series that you do for the anniversary? And it would be 3 missions, and they would all tie into each other, and it would have a theme. And then at the end, you get your epic loot, whether that's a new starship that they've been putting together, or maybe it's some epic gear, or maybe a gear set, maybe a complete ground set. For example, maybe each episode gives you a new shield, armor, and weapon for ground, and then that way you get a complete new ground set, or maybe a ship shield deflector and engine in each episode, so that by the end of it you have a brand new complete ship set. Something like that I think would be really awesome to do as well, and would expand upon the anniversary celebration. So I hope they amp it up in that way for the 4th year. But I am just happy that Star Trek Online has made it 3 years, because if you were in this game, people that were in this game in the first year will certainly tell you there was a lot of question if this thing would go into the second year or the third year. There was a lot of turmoil. There was a Cryptic being sold, and it was like up for dibs who would buy it. And then Perfect World came along and took it up. And even through all that, there was big questions like what direction would the game go, and would it survive? And so far, it survived. I mean, it was very, very questionable back in that first year, but it has survived, and it went through a lot of trouble. And but here we are, 3 years of Star Trek Online. People didn't think it would last this long. Here it is. So let's hope there's a fourth year, because I see this game continuing to grow, and I like that. There's something coming up this year called March Beneath the Raptor's Wings. Have no idea what that is. Looking forward to that. We've got the next featured episode series. We've got, well, just hopefully more content. Hopefully, from what I hear, this is the year that the KDF will finally get to their due justice and get appropriate missions in, so that you don't start at level, 30 commander in KDF, but you would now start at like just what you start out at ensign at on the Federation side, and then play up the missions to rank up. Hopefully that will come to fruition. So there's a lot of things, and then of course people want a new faction. People want a Romulan faction. I personally don't see that happening for a while, for at least a year. I mean, it takes a long time. And you would want them to have a ton of story missions, excuse me, lined up to match, how many there are on the Federation side before you have a whole new faction. So, but that's looking way forward, and that's something that possibly in a few years, hopefully less than a few years, hopefully maybe 1 or 2 years, we could see a new faction, which would really expand the game. But until then, we just have to look forward to new featured episodes, new content, hopefully the KDF getting finished, and hopefully maybe they'll surprise us. This March Beneath the Raptor's Wings could be a nice surprise, although it's probably just the next featured episode series. But looking forward to it. Season 8 is a few months away at this point, so be looking forward to seeing what Season 8 brings for Star Trek Online. And so that's it. I will continue to evaluate Star Trek Online and make videos. We've got the ambassadorship to look at. We've got the KDF equivalent to look at. And I have a Dominion ship. Hooray! So I'm going to get to that as well. And so that's it. That is the end of the 3rd year anniversary of Star Trek Online. Leave your comments and tell everybody what you think about this 3rd year anniversary, especially if you were here for the 1st and 2nd year, and you can compare it and see how it has evolved, and hopefully will continue to evolve into the 4th year. So that's it for now. End of 3rd year anniversary, but much, much more coming this year, and of course I will cover all of it. So stay tuned, and to be continued. Okay, maybe we're back a little bit faster than I thought we would be. Sorry for that cut there, and what seemed like would be the end of the episode here, or the video. It is not. There is one piece of information I forgot to mention as I was talking about the 1st year and 2nd year Party Popper. The 1st year Party Popper, we had the Tribbles. Nobody complained about that. Then the 2nd year Party Popper, we had fireworks and flames. Nobody complained about that. However, there has been a lot of controversy and debate over the balloons in the 3rd year Party Popper for some reason. Well, actually, I know the reasons, and I just want to talk about this a little bit. I have my own feelings on it, and I don't want to, you know, cause too much of a debate here, but basically now, you know, the third year Party Popper does the balloons. But now, when you hit this, as of like last week, they have nerfed the balloons. So what does that mean? That means you will no longer get those very large balloons popping out of your Party Popper. Remember before, we saw some extremely large balloons. In fact, we were kicking around and pushing some really large balloons. And, well, those really large balloons no longer come out. It's now just regular sized balloons. So the Party Popper has, okay, there's a little bit of a big one, but they don't get any bigger than that. You won't see the really giant ones. So that's about as big as you'll see. Now, the reason for this is because there were quite a few people in the forums who complained that the balloons were lagging their system and lagging frame rate. Now there is a way to make that stop, and it was always there, and it's under some kind of debris setting. Character, show high detail objects. This one right here. Yeah, see, when I set it to 0, for example, see how tiny the balloons are? They're like hardly even on the screen. And they disappear really fast, especially the farther into the distance they go. Well, that was the way to fix the problem. However, a lot of people felt they shouldn't have to change their settings and just complain that the balloons just lagged down their system. So Cryptic pretty much nerfed the balloons, and you don't get the large ones. The way I feel about this is if a graphical setting is affecting performance, you should have to lower performance. That's the whole nature of PC gaming, is that if something is bogging down your frame rate, you go to your video options and you turn settings down until it's playable. And this one was a really easy fix that was always there, and all you had to do was change that setting, and then the balloons would not cause that lag. But they became quite vocal about it, and Cryptic pretty much bowed down and nerfed the thing. So I can't say I'm happy about it, because there goes someone doing a bunch of tribbles. Because the first and second Party Popper, nobody complained, but for some reason these balloons really had people up in arms. They were really annoying to a lot of people, and for some reason people didn't realize that it was so easy to fix just by doing that setting right there. Max physics debris objects. That's all you had to change, and the balloons were gone for you, and then everybody else who was able to render them fast enough was able to would have been able to enjoy them. So kind of a shame, because the vocal minority kind of won there, and that means that experience of those really large balloons is taken away from everybody else. Whereas that user control was always there. The user was always able to make that change themselves and decide if they want to see those large balloons or not. So the control was always there, but people didn't want to utilize that, and instead they wanted Cryptic to fix the situation, and Cryptic did by nerfing the balloons for everybody. So that has happened in the past. That's not a new thing. That actually happened with the cryo grenades a long time ago. The first cryo grenades from the Breen missions that you could take, when you threw them at somebody, they used to encapsulate people in ice cubes, and you could not move. And you could throw that in social zones. But that ability, again, was nerfed because people apparently don't have a sense of humor or lack an amount of fun in the game and want to take that experience away from other people. Me, I like to have fun in the game. I look at this game as it is just a game, and all these things that the developers put in here are done for fun. Large balloons, throwing ice things and freezing people in ice cubes. The developers put that in there thinking that we would have fun with that stuff, right? So it's all about fun. And that's the way I view this game is I want to have fun in it. But sometimes people complain enough and they just nerf it for everybody. And that's the way it is. So that's my feelings on it, and I'm sure everybody has their own feelings. It's hard to say one person is right over the other. Everyone's got their own opinions about it, you know, and which way is right or wrong, I guess, is determined by the developers and what they enable or disable in the game. And apparently they thought it was okay to have large balloons and people being stuck in ice cubes when they first enabled that. So let's just leave it up to them to decide those kinds of things and try not to nerf the other fun for other people. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it, but again, everyone's got their own, and you know, none of us really are right. It's really what the developers want to do for the game and the direction that they want to take the game and the kind of fun in the environment that they want to create for the player base. I think that should be up to them. Anyways, that's my long rant on that, and if you've stayed to watch the entire video to hear that rant, thank you so much for listening. If you absolutely disagree with me, that's also fine. The great thing about games like this and the world we live in is we all have differing opinions. So, if you have those differing opinions, I surely would love to hear them. Or if you agree with me, I would also like to hear that. Otherwise, again, we come to the end of year 3, and this is where we stand. And I think it has been a great year 3 anniversary celebration. So despite all the complaining about balloons that I've heard in the forums, you really don't hear about that too much inside the game. It was mainly in the forums that people complained about that. So anyway, take that as it is, but at this point that's where things stand, and hopefully look forward to year 4, and we'll see what that has in store. So again, to be continued.